Hello and welcome to a new Ukraine war update. Once again, there have been many new developments on the front and a lot of new footage has been released. As always, please make sure to leave a like and comment. This really helps the channel more than you can imagine. Thank you. Helmet cam footage released by the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces YouTube channel shows Ukrainian Special Forces engaged in combat operations in Russia. The footage captures the Ukrainian forces clearing a Russian village of remaining Russian troops during the first day of the Ukrainian invasion into Russia. We can see the Ukrainian operators engaging Russian targets with small arms fire during several firefights. The men on foot were supported by Humvees who also engaged the Russians with heavy machine guns. One of the Humvees was even used to ram open the door of a warehouse. A tactic reminiscent of similar scenes filmed by US forces back then during Operation Iraqi Freedom, if you remember what I mean. The Ukrainians also employed psychological warfare by using loudspeakers to broadcast messages to the remaining Russian troops, urging them to surrender. As we know by now, the Russians in the border region mostly consisted of untrained conscripts who were taken by surprise when the Ukrainians launched their offensives. Also, it seems that in this part of the video, the Russians were mostly outnumbered and hiding from the Ukrainians, who easily cornered them and used grenades against them. Also, the way the drone was used here shows that the Ukrainians had total dominance and control over the area, without fearing interference from other Russian elements that might have flanked or engaged them in the open. The surreal and somewhat playful impression that this footage gives off led some Russian Telegram channels to believe that the images were staged. However, I think this video is more likely the result of battle-hardened special operators encountering largely undermotivated, inexperienced and under-equipped conscripts, or what do you think? What you see in this and the following clip is the first footage of the German-supplied Marder IFV in combat. While the Marder itself is not on screen, we can witness the use of its 20mm automatic cannon against Russian positions in the Kursk region. Especially in the second clip, we can see the red tracers of the Rheinmetall Mk20 RH202 automatic cannon very well. I have to say that by the look of the footage, the Marder's cannon seems to be a bit more accurate than the Bradleys. According to Ukraine's army chief, Ukrainian troops now control nearly 500 square miles of Russia's Kursk region. While I aim to keep my stance on the Ukraine war as accurate as possible, today's news can make that hard to do. Mainstream media might lack on the ground perspective or report through a biased lens, which is why I can't recommend enough checking out our sponsors, Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that gathers related news from across the political spectrum so you can compare coverage and come to your own independent conclusions about what's going on in the world. I myself use them to get a balanced perspective on Ukraine and other conflict zones. I even created their blind spot feed to highlight important news receiving little coverage from the left or right. Like Ukraine claiming control of a wide swath of Russia's Kursk region, Ground News found 67 sources covering this, with barely any reporting coming from conservative outlets. So you might have missed this important update if you don't diversify how you get your news. I can also browse their list of articles with different tags that add context to compare the world's reaction to Ukraine's invasion. Russia is focusing their reporting on their claim of a Ukrainian military doctor spotted torturing Russian prisoners in the Kursk region, while the UK says Putin's just embarrassed by his inability to stop Ukraine's incursion. As you can see, news coverage can vary drastically between articles and regions. But Ground News simplifies all the research it takes to get a well-rounded understanding of the world we live in, which is why I think you should really bookmark their Ukraine war page for all the latest developments. And I'm not saying this just because they are the sponsor of today's video, but because I often get comments from people accusing me of being one-sided in my reporting. Well, here's the solution for you. I have to say that this is a service I can really recommend and also stand behind personally, as it follows the same spirit as War Leaks when I opened up the channel back in 2014. Giving people insight into a topic from all perspectives to help them form their opinion should be the way to go, so make sure to check them out at ground.news/warleaks. My viewers save 40% on the same Vantage plan I use for unlimited access to all their features. Recently, Ukraine has begun releasing more and more footage from the first days of the invasion into Russia. They declassified short clips of how they prepared the border region with artillery, used breaching vehicles to clear mines, and even shared footage of the downing of a Russian helicopter. If you remember, we only got pictures of downed helicopters before. Ukraine also released additional footage from the battle at the border post, where a large group of Russians surrendered. The Ukrainians used a tank to shell the post before the Russians decided to give up. The reason we are currently only seeing footage from the first few days of the Kursk offensive is that Ukraine is maintaining a tight operational security regime to avoid endangering their forces, who continue to operate in hostile territory at this time. It seems that the nature of operations in the Kursk region has changed, and Ukraine is now transitioning from a very well-executed maneuver warfare to a defensive stance, focusing on fortifying and holding the territory they have captured. Additionally, they have initiated clearance operations to eliminate the last remaining pockets of Russian troops within the territory under their control. The use of Challenger 2 tanks in the invasion has also been confirmed. Previously, there were only 2 Russian videos claiming the destruction of 2 Challenger tanks, one by a helicopter and one by a Lancet drone. While neither video clearly showed the outcome, it can be assumed that at least one Challenger 2 was lost. This is a pretty interesting video filmed from inside a Ukrainian MRAP, showing a Ukrainian tank leading an MRAP section into battle while being supported by dismounted infantry. The tank is advancing on a road while using its main cannon to engage Russian targets. After firing a few shots, the tank is hit in the rear by an incoming Russian Lancet drone. And here's the interesting part, because we've seen this footage before, but only from a different perspective. The Russian Ministry of Defense also released footage from the same battle, filmed by one of their observation drones. What is even more interesting is that in their version, they edited the footage to make it appear as though the Ukrainian tank exploded just a few moments after being hit. However, in the Ukrainian ground footage, we can clearly see that the tank managed to drive to the side of the road to avoid blocking it, allowing the Ukrainian soldiers to still use the road. The crew was also most likely able to be evacuated. As I already mentioned, it seems that Ukraine has started to consolidate their current gains in Kursk and has transitioned to a defensive stance. However, to do this, they need to secure the area west of their captured territory from remaining Russian troops. To achieve this, they destroyed a number of bridges to cut off the Russians, as multiple videos of Ukrainian strikes on bridges have shown over the last few days. According to several Western media outlets, this led to the encirclement of Russian troops in the area. Reports indicate that approximately 3,000 Russian soldiers have been encircled by Ukrainian forces, particularly around the areas of Tyatkino and Glishkovo. The situation for these Russian forces is reportedly dire, with limited options for evacuation. The Ukrainian military has been using US-supplied HIMARS missile systems and drones to target Russian attempts of laying pontoon bridges, what led to further isolation of these troops. The effectiveness of the HIMARS system in this regard is putting the Russians under more pressure than ever to locate and destroy Ukrainian HIMARS launchers. It seems that on August 15, 2024, they indeed succeeded in doing so with one HIMARS system, as this video footage shows. The alleged destruction occurred after a Russian reconnaissance drone tracked the launcher and guided a missile strike to its location in the Ukrainian Sumy region. The HIMARS had reportedly been involved in recent Ukrainian operations, including a significant attack on a Russian military convoy near Rilsk just days before, but it cannot be confirmed that it was this exact HIMARS. In addition, Russia also claimed the destruction of more Ukrainian high-end military equipment, including an Iris-T anti-air defense launcher in the same region. However, there is skepticism surrounding this claim, as some analysts suggest that the destroyed object might have been a decoy rather than an actual Iris-T launcher. This skepticism is fueled by the absence of significant secondary explosions, which would typically be expected if a fully operational air defense system with live munitions were hit. Russia furthermore claimed to have destroyed the Ukrainian MLRS system. However, the likelihood of it also being a decoy is high, especially since there have been pictures released showing an inflatable decoy in what is most likely the same location for direct comparison. Definitely not consisting of decoys was this Ukrainian Patriot battery that was hit by a Russian Iskander missile right after launching 2 missiles of its own. It's possible that the launcher even tried to intercept the Iskander itself. However, there are also no visible signs of ammunition detonation in the recording, likely because the dispersion of the submunitions did not cause significant damage to the equipment. Even the pro-Russian outlet Rybar acknowledged that it is highly likely the Patriot system did not suffer significant damage, and that the air defense system could not be taken out of service. In this recently released strike on another reported Patriot battery, we can see a secondary explosion after the site was hit, indicating significant damage this time. If you've watched this far, I really want to take a moment to say thank you. Your support and interest in my videos truly mean the world to me. If you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and comment if you found this video valuable. It really helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm, which currently favors all the countless content farms pumping out low-effort Ukraine content like crazy without any meaningful value. Your likes and comments help this video get discovered more, countering those soulless and heartless videos. To briefly summarize the situation in Kursk, since my last update, Ukraine has made further territorial gains, but has been partially pushed back in the northwest. This is due to Russia having deployed more battle-hardened troops to the area, including some from the Eastern Front. This means that Ukraine's further advances could now be significantly hindered. As a result, Ukraine is now preparing to shift from an offensive to a defensive posture. However, the region west of the captured areas should still be cleared or starved out to further consolidate Ukraine's position. In the long term, it seems to remain difficult to sustain an effective maneuver warfare strategy over a prolonged period, even though Ukraine has practiced this very effectively in Kursk so far. Nevertheless, the windows for such operations appear to remain extremely short and could become even shorter in the future. On the other hand, since my last update, Russia has made further territorial gains in the east, in the area around Toretsk, towards Pokrovsk, where Russia's operational focus currently lies, as well as on the Marinka-Vuhledar axis further south. It also seems that as of August 30th, Russia has managed to encircle Ukrainian troops in New York. However, I am currently working on a separate update regarding the battles for Toretsk and Chasiv Yar. As mentioned, Russia's main effort is focused on Pokrovsk, a strategic road and rail hub. The city plays a crucial role in Ukraine's logistics, especially in supplying embattled areas like Chasiv Yar. Pokrovsk also hosts an important technical university and is near Ukraine's largest coking coal producer. Russia aims to capture Pokrovsk to disrupt Ukrainian supply lines, extend its control over the Donetsk region, and support further territorial gains, particularly in higher ground areas like Chasiv Yar. The situation in Pokrovsk deteriorated with the onset of the Kursk offensive, which diverted experienced and motivated brigades, depleting stabilization reserves and allowing Russian forces to advance quickly. The potential loss of Pokrovsk represents a significant operational threat to regional logistics, potentially disrupting crucial supply lines from Vuhledar in the south to Horlivka. Losing both road and rail connections would severely impact Ukrainian forces in the Donbas, increasing the risk of losing control over Kurakov, Vuhledar, and surrounding areas to the north and south of Toretsk. During the battle for Pokrovsk, the 47th Mechanized Brigade uploaded several videos showing US-supplied equipment in combat. This video, for example, shows a Ukrainian M1 Abrams tank engaging a group of Russian soldiers who had taken position inside a house. Here, a drone from the 47th Mechanized Brigade recorded a Ukrainian unit caught in the open in front of a Russian-occupied tree-line as cluster munitions hit their positions. It's unclear whether the munitions were launched by Ukrainian or Russian troops, although it has been reported that the artillery was likely danger-close Ukrainian fire. Despite the hits landing all around them, the Ukrainian soldiers appeared to withstand the bombardment without any visible impact on their combat capability. Recognizing the need for a quick extraction, they called in a Bradley fighting vehicle for evacuation. The Bradley promptly responded, arriving swiftly on the scene to rescue the soldiers, demonstrating good coordination and resilience under intense pressure. The Ukrainian fire team quickly mounted up in the back of the Bradley while it provided fire support with its 25mm Bushmaster cannon. While laying down suppressive fire, the Bradley hit reverse and successfully exfiltrated the team from the area. It even seems that a Ukrainian drone took a dive and flew extremely close to the Bradley, observing it. I believe it was a Ukrainian drone because it made no attempt to crash into the vehicle. However, this raises the question of why the footage hasn't been released. From this perspective, the drone could also have been Russian. This is a video from the Ukrainian Kurt and company unit showing their leader, Kurt, inside an armed buggy, firing a few shots with a mounted machine gun. The unit has used buggies and experimental gear like robot dogs before, but this seems to be the highest quality drone footage of a buggy they've released so far, if I remember correctly. Buggies have been used in the Ukraine war as fast, agile vehicles suited for reconnaissance, quick strikes, and rapid troop transport. Their lightweight design allows them to navigate difficult terrain and avoid detection more easily than heavier vehicles. As luck would have it, a similar video showing an armed Cybertruck was released by none other than Kadyrov himself. The video shows him driving the vehicle, armed with a machine gun, while being dressed in a way that can only be described as strange, to say the least. I mean, I have no idea what he's wearing here. It looks like he's role-playing a mix of Assassin's Creed and the acolytes from World of Warcraft.
All I see is blackness. Oh, my hood's down.
After I had just mentioned Thor gunners downing drones from helicopters in my last update, Ukraine has now released footage of a Mi-8 Thor gunner taking down a Russian Shahed drone using the helicopter's onboard machine gun. The Shahed drone is a relatively easy target for this since it is considered relatively slow compared to other military drones or aircraft, with a cruising speed of around 120 to 150 km per hour. This slower speed makes it more vulnerable to being targeted by air defenses or, like in this case, Thor gunners. However, its slow speed also contributes to its endurance and ability to loiter over a target area for extended periods. Russia has recently released footage of a new remote-controlled artillery robot. This cruise howitzer prototype is called Clever and not much info has been shared about it by now. However, it is obvious that operators can control the howitzer from a safe distance, which reduces the risk to personnel and allows for quick repositioning and firing. Other countries are also experimenting with this concept. For example, the German RCH 155 has a remote control feature as well. This helmet cam footage shows the downing of a Ukrainian drone by a Russian soldier as his ATV was chased and targeted by the drone. We've seen plenty of similar scenes by now, but I think it's always interesting to watch. This also illustrates the concept behind the saying every rifleman and anti-drone operator very well, even though using small arms is really a last resort against such threats. Here, a Ukrainian drone from the 15th Artillery Reconnaissance Brigade Black Forest spotted and observed a Russian 1L-219 Zu-1 counter-battery radar south of Bohorodets, Luhansk. The system was then targeted and destroyed by a Ukrainian HIMARS strike. The Zu-1 is a Russian counter-battery radar system designed to detect and track incoming artillery fire, mortars, and rockets. It provides coordinates of the firing position, allowing for quick counter-attacks. This makes it a high-value target.